Hello. Thank you for clicking my video. And of course, it is entitled Chris Benoit. We all know in the last recent little bit, it's been fairly fresh. I think it's happened a few years ago. At least a few years ago, when it happened, the tragic incident where Chris Benoit murdered his wife, his son, and killed himself. It was a very tragic incident. When I heard Chris Benoit was dead, his wife was dead, and his son was dead, the person who had called, who I had found out about this from, they thought Woman, the wife of Chris Benoit, who was Woman in WCW, had murdered Benoit and the kid. We then found out that Benoit indeed had murdered his wife, who again portrayed the character Woman in World Championship Wrestling, and their son. It was very shocking because Benoit was always spoken of in the highest regard. He was spoken as a mentor and a friend to Chris Jericho, to a great wrestler, a good guy in the backstage area, off camera. And I was always entertained by a Chris Benoit match. Everyone's heard the evidence and everyone's had their own opinion. My opinion is that Chris Benoit was not in the right mind. What do you think? You can always tell me what you think in the comments below. Chris Benoit was found, when they looked at his brain, to have the equivalent. His brain was equivalent to a 80, and his brain was equivalent to an 80-year-old human being with Alzheimer's disease. Alzheimer's disease is a disease I think usually older people tend to get, and it makes them forget who they are, who they are, what their name is, where they're from, what they've done in their life, and so. And this whole incident led to really, I think, PG being pushed in the last couple of years in WWE. I think Vince, of course, I don't know the man's mindset, but in my opinion, and I think anyone, if you own a business like a law firm or a car dealership, if you have the heat, if your company has heat for something, you want to get that heat off. So he made the product more child-friendly, more family-friendly, and he got the heat off. And now I think he's becoming more confident, and with this Cena Rock stuff, we've seen them, Rock, of course, swearing uncensored, Cena making some sexual remarks, play on words kind of stuff, and adding the edge back to the programming, and appealing more to the older audience, but not taking away from the younger audience. I think what the plan is, in my opinion, is to still target the kids, but give a little something to those older viewers and slowly bring the edge back in, slow, not just go right into it, because a lot of heat was on wrestling. And you know what, Chris Benoit, again, 80-year-old brain equivalent to an 80-year-old with Alzheimer's. Yeah, the bumps played a role, the schedule played a role, but I think they might have found some sort of steroids. I think they did. If you remember, if they found some sort of steroids in Benoit's home or in Chris Benoit's system when they did an autopsy, I believe they did do an autopsy. If they did find steroids in Chris Benoit, please let me know in the comments below. But I believe there was some steroid use, and maybe again, the pressures of maybe being a big guy. But you know what? Chris Jericho never, look at Chris Jericho. guy didn't take steroids. He did it naturally, you know, and I think a lot of guys, you know, have done it naturally. Some guys, I don't doubt, at one point juiced up a bit. I think maybe Cena might have juiced. I don't have evidence or proof. Maybe Cena juiced. Batista probably juiced up at one point. And by juiced up, I mean, of course, used a needle, punctured it into themselves, and inject steroids, a substance, of course, to increase muscle enhancement. And but he again made that choice. So yes, wrestling, maybe the bumps contributed to it, the schedule contributed to it, but then it was also Chris Benoit's choices to try to bulk up. He wanted to bulk up, you know, and I think a lot of guys went without it, and you know, but he, I guess, felt those pressures, and he made that choice. He also made the choice to stick around for as long as he did. Again, I'm going to reference Chris Jericho. When he was mentally fried, he left, you know. Chris Benoit could have done the same. He could have left for a bit, come back, you know, when he was a little more rested, but he kept going, and it built up, you know. You know, wrestling could not be the total blame here. I mean, Benoit's brain could have been beaten down, you know, to the state it was. He could have just been at home, which the incident did occur at Benoit's home, so he was in fact home. His wife said, I forgot to call Jim about the car today. I'll give him a call tomorrow. And Benoit could have just snapped because his brain was not right, and something snapped in him mentally, and he went nuts. And when it was done, maybe his brain kind of snapped back to normal. I mean, I don't know if it had something where it could go in and out of his normal state, but in the end, he couldn't deal with it, and he killed himself. But you know, the topic of this video is, should Chris Benoit be in the Hall of Fame? Well, the title is Chris Benoit, but my kind of area of focus on is, should Benoit be in the Hall of Fame? And my question to you is, when do you think Chris Benoit will be in the Hall of Fame? I think he'll be in 15, 20 years. Like, I mean, they'll put Doink, Hornswoggle, and Michael Cole in the Hall of Fame before Chris Benoit. When this is erased from our... Well, I don't think it'll ever be erased, but when it's not as fresh in our minds. Chris Benoit was a great wrestler. He was a great teacher and friend to many. He influenced a lot of guys, and he was a great wrestler. He was a part of many great matches. He was a great contributor to wrestling in and out of the ring. And despite how it ended, how tragic and sad it was, you can't forget what the guy did. You can't forget, you know, your past. Chris Benoit is the past, but you can't forget it. He's still a part of wrestling history, and he needs to, for his accomplishments in the ring, Chris Benoit should be honored and have a spot one day in the WWE Hall of Fame. Do you think so? Let me know in the comments below. And I'm Dan O'Mac. Check out my other videos. They're well, I think they're all good, but you know, you have your own opinion. And if you like what you saw here today, subscribe, comment, favorite this video, send me an email, whatever you want. I'm Dan O'Mac. Always stay tuned for more. Peace.